Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Joel Banker from Jackson Friends Church. He is the Director of Sports Ministry there. And before we get into what else is going to be happening this summer, you were talking about the soccer field. There has to be some logistics in the care and seeding and planting and everything of a soccer field that's going to make regulation.
Yeah.
That had to be a lot to think about. Tell me about that process.
Yeah. I guess when you think about it in your head, you're like, oh, it wouldn't be that hard to just like get a soccer field, put some goals up and stuff.
Mow a triangle, right?
Yeah.
Or a rectangle, I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've had to get some machines out there to kind of level that ground. And like I said before, we had to pick out some rocks and things in there to make sure it's all clean and then being able to seed it and have that grass grow. But I've kind of had to do some research to make sure that we're regulation with normal soccer fields, because we want to make sure that people get that same experience that they expect from other community leagues. So there's a lot that goes into it, and you gotta paint the lines as well, and that usually probably every couple weeks, and just making sure that, all the speculations and everything are kind of right on point.
When you say community league, my mind goes to Diamond Field and all of those soccer games going on simultaneously. Yeah. Is that the dream?
Oh, that would be the dream, the goal, the whole shebang. It would be awesome. Because with a one field, you're a little bit limited right now, and at the church specifically, there isn't as much room to really put any more fields. But thankfully, we have that space for one.
That's great
for our younger kids. But the goal in the future would probably be to get some more fields in there so we can really grow this thing and hopefully make it as big as our basketball program.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Tell me about the coaches. Where are they coming from?
Yeah, the coaches are such a blessing. Those are parents. Almost all of them. We do have some people that have come from our church that have come out and done an amazing job for us too. But really, we rely so much on the parents, because without them, we don't have the funds to pay coaches and get professionals in here. But we just have parents that are really passionate about the sports, that come in and have experience and go out there and just the ball out with us.
So what kids are eligible for this? Who should sign up, and how do they do that?
Yeah, so this is for any kids kindergarten through 6th grade, boy or girl, and really any school in the area, as long as you can find a ride out here. But you can register at jacksonfriendschurch.org. It's super easy. You just go up to the top, and there's a sports tab, and if you look under youth sports, you'll see soccer, and there's a link there that'll take you to the registration portal, and you just kind of have to create an account. But it's very easy, and it's inexpensive. The cost is $70, and I believe our jersey cost is $15 on top of that, and it's a reusable jersey that you can use in the future with the league as well. And that has our new logo on it, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. Who did the logo? Did you figure that out?
Well, I had the idea for it. I was actually inspired by my roommate, Mitch, and you might know Mitch Fritz. He was
yes.
Another Malone guy, and he played JV there for basketball, but we've been really good friends for a number of years, and we live with another roommate of ours. But I'd showed him, we had looked at a crown, because that verse I had talked about, I wanted a cool logo with some kind of crown to kind of represent God and like the King of Kings, and I just kind of drawn what I thought it would look like, and he decided, what if we did it with the letters, and we actually put the letters JFC in the crown. And I'll have to maybe show you a picture after this, but it's actually like the letters are introverted like in the crown, so it makes a crown with the JFC letters, and it looks really sweet, and you can see it on the jerseys, and maybe we can even throw it up on the site here so
That'd be
people
fun.
can see
I think
that.
we'll need to do that.
Yeah, so people can see what it looks like, but it is really sweet, and I'm super pumped about it. I wanted to get some gear in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got summer camps happening. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so that is a really cool thing that I'm excited to do this summer. We're doing summer day camps here starting June 3rd at Jackson Friends. And I guess something to compare it to would be something like a YMCA day camps that they do, but we're going to have that Christian influence on it as well. So my dream for it right now, and the vision I have is we're going to have about 5 different areas that the kids will rotate through each day. So we'll have something like a sports and motor skills type of class. We'll have like a music and movement. I'm hoping for like arts and crafts, and we'll have like a Bible time as well. And then maybe something along the lines of general education, like doing like math and science and reading, just to try to keep
Really?
kids engaged during that time. So that class specifically might rotate different subjects each day. But the other cool thing, I've reached out to Malone, and I've kind of went through the different departments, and the goal is to try to get students that are there in those majors to come out and to be our program leaders during the summer, because these are people that this is the job that they're going to go into, and they're young and they're energetic, and I think it'd be great for our kids to have leaders that are passionate about what they're doing. So it'll be awesome. It's the same actually as the soccer league. It's going to be kindergarten through 6th grade of those people just finishing those those grade levels. So 5 years old through whatever that would be, 11 or 12.
So it's the grade you're leaving out of, not the grade you're going into.
Yeah, the one
So
you're
it's not
leaving.
rising first graders. It's if you just finish first grade, then you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
pretty much definite. We're just looking maybe what the price point would be, but it'll be included in the weekly fees. It's there in Canal Fulton. So we're doing on Fridays, all the kids, we're going to go to Clay's Park, and that'll kind of be a weekly thing, and that's just going to be our fun day. The programming will be Monday through Thursday, and then on Fridays, that'll be when we take all the kids in the camp and we go to Clay's Park and just have a awesome fun day over there. So.
Oh my goodness, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this in the very, very beginning, and let me just say, teachers, when they just heard that, are saying thank you because kids lose so much over the summer.
For sure.
But there are a lot of families who are not taking their kids to church. There's a lot of kids who grow up unchurched. There's a lot of people, adults, that have not been churched. And the idea of going to a church is a little maybe intimidating or just unusual. It's just not what they are accustomed to doing. You're offering something through sports that's a lot more familiar to a lot of people, that feels at home, feels comfortable. This I can do. I'm in my sweet spot here.
Yeah.
And it welcomes people in. And then the goal of introducing them to Jesus, a Jesus that loves them, that seems to be the goal. Can you talk about that? Are there any stories of lives changed that you've gotten to see?
Yeah. We have a really cool one, and it was actually from one of our coaches. He used to be with us in Upward, and his name's Brian Shellhorn, and he and his wife, Nikki Shellhorn, they just moved to, I want to say, up somewhere in Mentor or Cleveland area this last year, so unfortunately didn't have him with the program. But a story he's told a few times, and this happened a couple years ago, it's just the coolest thing. He had I think it was either kindergarten or maybe a kindergarten first grade team for basketball, but they had a kid on the team, and he was talking about the story where Jesus walks on water. And after he was done, because we always do devotions after practices for the kindergarten through 6th grade, after he was done, the kid had asked him, he said, "Hey coach, like did that really happen? Like did he really walk on water?" And he's like, "Or was that just like a fairy tale or something?" He's like, "No, like it really happened." And I guess the kid kept coming back and like asking, he's like, "Well, okay, like can I like what can you tell me more? Like can you talk a little bit more about this Jesus guy?" And because he was a kid that just really hadn't heard much at all, I guess. And it was kind of a cool thing because Brian had said, well, like he had another team because he was an all-star and he coached 2 teams for us, and he and his wife Nikki did. And he was like, well, shoot, like I have to get to this next team, but he's like, you know what, this is more important. So Nikki went on and ended up coaching the next team while Brian went over and was able to talk to him a little bit more about Jesus. But it's just stuff like that, being able to bring people into the church that, like you said, sports is a familiar place that makes people feel a little more comfortable with doing it. And it's just such an awesome avenue to be able to get people in the door. And that's the first step we need. And it's not something where we're trying to shove it in their faces about Jesus, but just an opportunity to hear him and maybe spark that interest like you see, especially with the younger kids, because they are curious and they want to know more about things that they don't understand. So
yeah.
For
For right or wrong, athletes tend to be almost like superstars where they go around. I'm thinking paid athletes certainly are. Those are our heroes. Kids look up to them. And I'm also thinking in the schools, a high school student, a college student who's athletic for some reason. They seem to be the role models. They are the people who other people look up to for right or wrong. There's a responsibility that comes along with that, isn't there?
Yeah.
When you're talking to kids and improving their athletic skills and turning them into, you're turning out some really great athletes from these programs. What kind of responsibility as far as being people of character, being not just good athletes, but good people? What kind of responsibility comes from that? How do you train them for that or get their heads ready for that?
Yeah.
You're going to be a role model, kids.
Yeah.
So how do you get them prepared for that?
Yeah, I think that's just part of the experience in the church and with the coaches to kind of have that in their practice. I think, and that's like such a cool thing about Upward is that it's more than just the game, but we're trying to teach these kids it's not about just winning and losing, but it's about your character out there on the court. And like for our younger grades, kindergarten, we don't keep score because we want the kids to learn more about playing the game and not focusing on winning and losing. And at those younger levels too, you're putting limits on the scores, and kids might look up and you're like, why are we only up 15? We should be up 25 right now. And we're like, hey, we're not teaching, like we don't want kids to look up and feel
get so demoralized.
Yeah, because you're down 40 points. But we're trying to teach these kids it's more about having fun when you're out there. But yeah, I mean the coaches do an awesome job, and I think like being with Upward and having that foundation, you've got devotions each week that talk about characters and the different virtues that we need to go through. And a big one this year was honoring your teammates and putting others first, and that's so important in team sports. It's not about you. It's not about going out there and scoring 50 points a game, but it's about being productive and learning how to play as a team. So I don't know. It's such a
good answer.
It's such a good way.
We had two boys, so following them from, I pretty much sat in bleachers throughout there growing up. Yeah. And what I notice is it's not necessarily the kids who are showing poor sportsmanship, it's the parents. So is there anything, I mean, you kind of hope that when your kids are participating in church league that would not be an issue. Is there anything where the parents catch on to some of these great values that you're talking about?
Yeah, we had a cool one. Definitely, I've noticed this season there was a game where one of our coaches who's been with us for 3 or 4 years now, maybe more, has been awesome, and he has a kid on the team that's really good. But there was a player from another team that had just kind of had been one to kind of pick fights sometimes, and he had maybe set kind of a hard pick and knocked the kid over, and the kid like got back up and just kind of didn't do anything and just looked over at him in kind of amazement. But I mean, these were 3rd and 4th graders, so in my mind I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go like stop a fight out there because they're gonna get a little rascally. But thankfully, like the kid didn't do anything, and I ended up texting his dad later that day, and I was just like, man, like
wow,
that it's so cool to see that stuff. And his parents on the sideline, like, well, the dad was coaching, the mom on the sideline just said they were so proud of him, like after that. So it definitely rubs off sometimes, but you can also try to expect more from the parents too. Yeah, I mean, I guess another story too was cool. We had more of a player that had a little bit of this was in the high school league, a player that had got a little angry. He was in a playoff game earlier this year, I believe, and he was kind of yelling at the ref, and I think he might have got a technical. And his mom had said some stuff too, I guess, that had maybe upset the referee, and she ended up having to step out. And one of our leaders from the league went out there and talked to her and said, hey, like, your son, like, when he sees you do that and sees the way you react, he thinks that's okay to react. And I was very proud of the guy that went out there and talked to her, because I was like, I don't know if I would have had the guts to go out there and talk to an angry parent like that. But I mean, apparently he got a really great reaction out of her, and she's like, you know what, you're right, I shouldn't have done that. And because your kids see what you're doing, and they're like, well, if my mom or my dad is out there and they can do that, like, I'm gonna do it too. So
it's a unique and awesome ministry.
Yeah.
And my hat is off to you. Where can people go? Is there a website where people can go for more information, Joel?
Yeah. Once again, at jacksonfriendschurch.org, you can go under the youth sports tab, and see what we have going on. Like I said, we have the soccer league coming up. Basketball just finished up here, so we won't be starting that back up until I guess November next year is when evaluations are. And probably in a week or so we'll be ready for it again, but it feels nice to be done right now. But yeah, go to jacksonfriendschurch.org and you can find out more about the sports and other things that the church is doing.
Awesome. Joel Banker, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community.
Absolutely.